Welcome in to the Triple Play Fantasy Baseball Show. Let's roll. What's going on, everybody? Happy Cinco de Mayo, happy Sunday night baseball, happy week 7, happy May, happy whatever you want to call it. Triple Play boys, back at you again, live this week. No D Mendy, probably another couple weeks that he is on the IL with real lifeism. It's a little bit of an injury that he's plagued by, but the rest of the crew here to hold it down. On my right, we got LC, Little Cheesecake. What's going on?
Getting to another end of another week here, bearing down to try and improve my team and just keep moving up standings. Doing better in the home league than I have been in a few years. Home league has been something that I have missed the playoffs in the last year. So starting off this season, I think I'm going to be 6-1 or 5-1 at the end of this week. So feeling pretty good in my fantasy so far, but got a lot of work to do on the roto season still. So I'm stoked, man. How you guys doing?
Doing pretty well, Art. It is beautiful when you miss the playoffs, but I'm glad to see that you're not giving up. The grit and grind is still there, and you're going to be a handsome 5-1, so can't complain. But also, speaking of handsome, on the bottom, we got Marty Tallman. What's going on?
What's up, man? I'm ready for this fabulous Sunday. I think a lot of money's going to be spent, so we got a lot to talk about.
Now, are you saying that because of certain players or just a gut? Maybe a little bit of the margs kicking in for Cinco de Mayo?
Margaritas. No margaritas here. But a little Manzardo, a little Scott, maybe. There's a lot of names out there. We'll tackle them, but it's already starting on Twitter. If you're following along, people are ready to spend money this week. I don't know if I'm going to be one of them, but someone in your league is going to spend $200-$300.
Oh, that's a good amount of fab at this point. And I feel like the first week in May, the first month of the season, you're letting some things play out. Guys will have cold stretches begin. Certain guys will be hot, and there will be some sort of regression. But now you know where you need to improve. And, the initial slew of injuries are over. I think now, like obviously Trey Turner injury, and we'll touch more on that later, is a big blow. But there hasn't been that big batch that we saw in the first couple weeks. And you're kind of finding out now where you need to improve on your team moving forward.
Yeah, and we'll go over the injuries, but yeah, the Joe Musgroves, anybody who's lost a big name pitcher, this is potentially your chance to redeem yourself a little bit.
Wait, Marty, did Musgrove get hurt?
Yeah.
Wait, no.
15-day IL with elbow tendonitis. Is that right, Art? I know we were talking about
triceps tendonitis.
Tricep tendonitis. Yeah.
Oh
yeah,
my gosh. Oh
the
my
tricep connected to the elbow.
Oh
the
my
triceps connected to the shoulder. I don't know.
Well, breaking on this pod, I just got $600 richer. But we'll save that for another day. But speaking on being richer, that's what Underdog wants to make you. Marty just teed me up for this perfectly, because when you use promo code TRIPLE, Underdog is going to make you richer with a deposit match up to $100. So that's not as much money as I'm going to win from Joe Musgrove, but it's free money. You'd be stunned to not use it. And if you have, join us for some drafts that we have going on in the future. But we want to kind of get back into some of the formats that we did last year. And, as things have changed, as we've gotten back in our full-time jobs, and, obviously we've changed days that we have done the podcast. We want to try to do what separates us and what were some of our unique segments. And I think a good recap is our WOW players. So looking back at some guys this week that really kind of stood out. And I think first, we're talking about an Oakland A, and the Athletics were, rumored to have one of the best or one of the worst records, and they're floating near 530 games into the season. And JJ Bleday over the last 6 games, a 412, 545, 1.118 triple slash, 3 homers and 8 RBIs. He's dropped the K percentage from 23.8 to 19.5%. But something to note is the hard hit and barrel percentages are down from last year. So Oakland A's overperforming as a team. JJ Bleday overperforming in the last week. Marty, I want to know, is this fluke or is this real?
I'm going to say, yeah, it's a fluke. And JJ Bleday at this point, I think he's okay in a very, like, if you need to stream him for whatever reason, if you have a lot of righties coming up. But here's the thing, playing time is always going to be in question. Strong side platoon. He can't hit lefties. He only has 26 at bats against lefties this year, batting 154. And honestly, it's just a crowded outfield in Oakland. I mean, Lawrence Butler's been hitting the ball. Seth Brown's still there. And both of those guys are lefties. And now you bring in Tyler Nevin, who's been hitting. It's just, I agree with the Bad X. I think, he's got about 12 homers left, 4 steals, batting around 225. I don't think that's unrosterable in the deepest of leagues, but I think he's basically a streamer. If you're super, super desperate, he'll never be more than that.
Do you think he has an everyday role moving forward?
No.
Okay.
And I don't say that because I don't think he's going to be able to have it. I just don't know what Oakland's plan is. I never know. With Butler, with Brown, and now Nevin in the mix. Yeah, we don't know. Plus, he could get traded. So maybe.
I think that's important to note with some of these things, especially with some of the bad teams or teams that mismanages. What is their philosophy moving forward? Because it doesn't always make sense.
Mm-hmm.
JJ Bleday could be doing very well. And just kind of the first thought I had is when the O's brought up Heston Kjerstad, and they were benching him most days. And I know they brought him in to be a platoon bat, but even against righties, he was sitting a lot of days. So with JJ Bleday, I think that's a good point. Maybe you ride the hot stretch. I mean, would you add him in a 15-team league?
No, because Butler and Brown are both lefties too. I could see Oakland moving them in and out. They might just ride the hot hand maybe for this week, but if he scuttles over a few days, they're just going to plug somebody else in there. And then at the end of the day, what do we do? We're trying to get like the 4th outfielder on the Oakland A's. So no, I don't think it's not necessary. You can find somebody better.
I will say this for Bleday: when he plays, they bat him like 3rd. Well, they bat him at a good spot in the lineup when he does play. And how many had the A's stack in the DFS against the Marlins yesterday with their 11 run inning and 15 runs overall? I think Bleday was a part of that, and that was a Trevor Rogers start. I agree. I think Bleday is a bit of a mystery, but I think he does have a little bit of power, and I think if there are some righties, a dollar day stream as a hitter, it isn't a bad call.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I think not to have high expectations. If you had if you rode the wave of JJ Bleday from last week, you benefited it, but don't go and chase that. Art, go into our next guy, and it's from a team that was a bottom dweller last year. So I don't know what got into me when I made these slides, but the guy you want to talk to if you're going to the gym and trying to put on weight, Michael Massey. The last 7 games, 9 for 21, which is a 429 batting average, 2 home runs, 9 RBIs. Only 2 RBIs outside of this stretch. No stolen bases on the season. At this point, is this someone that you would add in a 15-team league?
Yeah, I think Massey is a pretty good hitter, and I want to get part of that offense. The downside is that Massey is mostly playing against right-handers, with Garrett Hampson getting most of the at-bats when left-handers are starting. But I think that Massey could eventually earn a bigger share of the plate because he's hitting so well right now. Right now, his zone contact is crazy high. It's like 100%. If you look at Fangraphs, it's 100%. It's 98% if you look at pitcher list. So it's like he's hitting everything in the zone. He's hitting it. He's hitting for a good batting average. He has some pop. I'm not going to say he's like a 30 home run guy, but he might be like a 15 home run guy for the rest of the way out. So I like him I think that I don't think that Garrett Hampson is someone who I would think would keep him off the field if he keeps hitting well. And I'd like to see them give him a chance against lefties a little bit more. But I'd pick him up for a speculative ad as like a 15-team league as like a depth piece in the middle infield. So I think he's a good hitter.
What's interesting to note about him, a 2.2 walk percentage and an 8.9 K percentage. So he is putting the ball in play a lot. BABIP 289 this year. So not like we're expecting him to regress any sort of way, but I will say the one thing about the Royals, they've been a surprise team, kind of like the Athletics.
And can you bring that that graphic back up? He has a grade 80 chin. Look at that jawline and that chin, dude. That's impressive.
I mean, do we count that for anything? And can we add it as a 6th category?
I don't know. It's pretty impressive. He should do those commercials where they like tell you by chewing gum, it strengthens your jaw. I don't know. I always get those. I don't know if that even works. But anyway, I'll do a comp for Massey. I think he is the peak of what Jeff McNeil was.
I think that's fair.
I think he's going to hit you a strong average 270, 280. His speeds percentile is pretty much the same as McNeil was. So low 9, 10, 11, 12, stolen bases. Art's exactly right. He's a strong side platoon at this point. But the bad axe rest of season projection has him for 12 homers, 5 stolen bases, batting 247. So that's absolutely usable, especially in the position he plays.
And I will say the one thing about the Royals, it's only a matter of time before Salvador Perez gets hurt again, and that DH is open for grabs. Going to the next guy, somebody that we had talked about, I know, in the preseason because of the multi-position eligibility. He's outfield, he's shortstop, he's third base, at least in ESPN. And that's Willie Castro, quietly one of the best hitters over the last 7 to 10 days. 10-game hitting streak, and over those 7 games, a 480 batting average, 3 RBIs, 3 steals, no home runs, a 408 BABIP for the year, so that's a little bit unsustainable. The 29.2 K percentage, it is up over 5 ticks from last year, but right now it seems like he is locked into an everyday role. That multi-position eligibility is key with some of the injuries that have been coming up. Marty, has the hot streak passed? The Twins just lost a game today, I believe, but they were winners of previous 12 in a row. Is he somebody that you would look to add?
Yeah, I mean, I have him in 15-team leagues already. Art and I hopped into a gladiator draft in the offseason with Bubba and the Bloom, which I'm lucky enough now to be. I'm in first place currently, but I have Willie Castro as my utility, hoping I know he's not going to get the 30 stolen bases that he got last year, but he's playing every day with Byron Buxton and Austin Martin on the IL. He still makes good contact. I think he's about a 250, 260 hitter. Now, this is something that I haven't seen from him before, is he's striking out 30% of the time. So that's going to eat into what is usually a pretty good average. But projections they're optimistic. They have him for 7 home runs and 14 stolen bases. And I think you could even give him a bump on the home runs because he's going to play a lot more because of all the injuries. 15 teams, he's a for sure have already. And I think he's streamable in a 12.
Did the Twins have the quietest 12-game win streak that you can remember? Like, nobody talked about it.
Yeah, because I listened to Baseball Today, and Trevor Plouffe, who's a former Minnesota Twin, he's big about it. Yeah, he makes sure everyone knows when the Twins are doing well, especially them being the AL Central. But yeah, they struggled out of the gate and they couldn't hit at all, and then they completely turned it around.
And a lot of those games are come from behind wins, or they win by 1. And what is interesting to note about them, and I put a tweet out about this the other day, when they were up to 10 in a row, they were still 4th in the AL Central. So it shows how bad they were out of the gate, that a third of the way in, and they've won 10 games in a row. But also a credit for the Royals, for the Tigers, for the Guardians, just how good that they've been this year. I feel like the AL Central has historically been the weakest division, maybe the last 3-4 years. And this year, it looks like the strongest record-wise.
Yeah, and shout out to Bally Sports and Xfinity Cable, because now we can no longer watch the Detroit Tigers because they're no longer on cable television.
The local blackouts. You got to love it. Gotta love it. Go into the pitching side and talk about somebody from the hometown Baltimore Orioles, John Means. And you love to see him do well with just what he's gone through injuries-wise and personal life. Season debut against the Cincinnati Reds. 7 innings, 3 hits, no earned runs, 8 Ks. Baltimore starting pitching didn't give up a single earned run in that 3-game series. Cole Irvin, Dean Kramer, John Means went about 20 innings, no earned runs. But for John Means himself, 19 swings on 85 pitches. I do want to precaution this, though. Even though he had a great final inning in AAA where he had 7 innings, 1 hit, 1 walk, 8 Ks, when you look at his cumulative 5 starts, a 13.89 ERA, a 2.31 whip in 11 innings. So, with that being said, the most 2 recent outings being great, but the numbers before in AAA being a little bit shady, and a guy coming back from injury, Art, what should we expect from John Means rest of season?
Well, I thought it was a really good start. Pitching in Cincinnati is not a great place to start your time back, and he really pitched very well with a changeup heavy approach, which he was using to get a lot of ground balls. So the changeup was his most used pitch, and I'm not sure if we're going to see him do that from here on out. If he's going to keep using that as his featured pitch, or if that was something he used against Cincinnati. I think Means is a pretty good pitcher for the rest of season, and I'd pick him up right now. But I would think that, as we saw last season, his strikeout percentage was way down last year, and it came back this year really well, 35% in that first outing. I wonder what the strikeouts are going to look like. Like you said, I don't put a lot of stock in the rehab outings, to be honest, but I wonder if the strikeouts are going to be more towards where they were in 2022 at 21 or 22%, and not like this 35% that he came out with in the first game. So I think I would temper my expectations on the K percentage, but as long as he stays healthy with a good spot on that Orioles rotation, I want him on my team. I think he's a solid MLB pitcher for sure, above average.
Something to note about John Means with his spot in the rotation, Grayson Rodriguez to the IL, and we will talk about this in more detail, right shoulder inflammation, and that being the best young arm of the Orioles, I think that secures his spot for at least the foreseeable future, even if he does have some of those struggles. But look into another guy, Ben Lively. For the season, 1-1, 2.08 ERA, 1.02 whip, 24 strikeouts to 6 walks, and he's gone at least 5 innings in 3 out of 4 games. I think the one game was against the Braves that he didn't, and most people don't. He plays the White Sox next week, so you are obviously streaming him. But to note for his career, a 5.05 ERA and 208 innings pitched. That is not a small sample size. So, Marty, obviously you're playing Ben Lively next week. But beyond that, is this a hot start, or is this something legit that you see from him changing?
Well, what I do like 3.66 xERA with a 28% K percentage. So that's rosterable. Definitely 15-team leagues. I think in 12s, he's a solid streamer. I think at this point, at Chicago. Then he's at Texas. So what makes me nervous is his hard hit rate is currently elevated, and Progressive Field's weird. It's one of those fields that at the beginning of the year, because it's so cold out in Cleveland, the ballpark's more of a pitcher's park. And then as you go and you move into the summer, especially July and August, the ball starts flying out of there. So long term, I'm worried because of his Ben Lively's hard hit rates, but the strikeout percentage has me intrigued. The soft schedule for the next one coming up, I think he's a must roster for that one. And then you can, if he's a mid 3 ERA, a mid 3.5 ERA, somewhere around there, I think he's going to be good for you.
What's interesting, how many times have we talked about the pitching staff of Cleveland, the pitching coaches they have, and that in Tampa, Tampa in the short term, because inevitably you're going to get hurt and need Tommy John surgery if you're a member of that staff. But if they can't correct you, that nobody can. And, maybe that's what we're heavily. I mean, we've seen guys, and this is just the first one that came to my head, R.A. Dickey, that have had good years. And sometimes you don't want to discredit what people have done early in the season, just saying that, they'll regress back, because sometimes things just click for you. And especially with the rate pitchers have and are going down, I think he's worth a roster spot beyond that.
You know what's interesting? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was just pointing out. I just looked up. Do you guys remember Lively had that 13-run outing last year?
Yes.
Where he
against when he was on Cincinnati. Yes.
Yeah. If you take that 13-run outing out of his career ERA drops from a 4.77 to a 4.34. So he's actually been pretty respectable on the whole. If you look at it, 4.34 is pretty decent.
That's not bad. I do remember that infamous game, because it was like, I think he's allowed 11 in the first inning and they didn't take him. I was like, this is just torture now. Who would allow someone to just have their ERA climb up at this point? But obviously the Reds didn't care. So thank you, Cincinnati, for making that ERA go up and probably his price tag go down. Last guy we'll talk about, and I'll be interested if you guys have any thoughts on him, but Cal Quantrill, maybe the best outing of his career. 7.2 innings, 3 hits, no earned, 9 Ks at Pittsburgh. But just to note, he has 1 earned run or less in 3 out of his last 4 outings. At Pittsburgh versus Houston, which he went less than, I think he gave up 6 earned in 6 innings, but versus Seattle, at Philly, decent offenses, a 3.93 expected ERA. The K percentage is up slightly from last year. Remember, he did have some back and shoulder issues. I'm not saying this is a guy you add in 12-team leagues, but Marty, is this someone that you're just looking to stream maybe when he's away from Coors, or do you think he's worth an add in deeper leagues?
Yeah, so with Cal Quantrill, it goes without saying we're not starting him at home. And I guess if you're super desperate and you need someone just to fill in the gap for that week, if he's away going against the bottom 5 offense, yeah, I wouldn't do it. So I guess the answer is no. Whatever the question is, the answer is no with him. And the biggest reason is he needs to get his strikeout rate up to 20%. Anytime you look at his career stats, if his ERA in those lower years, they were around a 4.5. That's the best case scenario with him. And when that was going on, he was striking out 19, 20% of batters. Last year it went down to 13%, and right now it's sitting at 15%. So he's a ground ball pitcher that can't strike out hitters. He plays in the worst ballpark you can. So yeah, if you're in a 15-team league and you need somebody just to fill in that gap, and you can put in $2 bid to get him, then I guess that's fine. But that would be that would be optimistic about it.
Okay, Marty, I'm going to pick on 2 things you said. One, that he's a mid-4 ERA guy. With the Guardians in 2022, a 3.38 ERA.
Okay, it was a 3 point. It was around mid-3s. That's what it was. I was going off the top
of my head. 2021, a 2.89 ERA in 150 innings.
And look at his strikeout rate.
Oh, so that was strikeout's awful. Point. Strikeout's awful. There's a reason.
But it was the best that it's been. Like with that 20%, he was 20% for one of the years and then 19 for the other one. And that's when he found the most success. But if he can't hit that threshold, that's when he struggles the most.
When you said whatever the question to Cal Quantrill is, the answer is going to be no. What if I said, would you not stream him? And you said no, which means you would.
Then I would. I mean, you got me there.
Yeah. You know what? They told me that I could be a lawyer if I really wanted to. But
I could see that.
Too much schooling for me. I wouldn't be able to do this podcast. Art, anything you want to add with Cal Quantrill, or Marty get it all?
No, I think Marty covered it. I will say that I think Quantrill, and I probably heard this on another podcast, represents Colorado trying to move away from, breaking pitch heavy guys. He might be the type of pitcher who could be a decent long-term pitcher because he's a splitter and sinker heavy guy. So maybe I think he could represent like a new approach for their staffs. I mean, he's a serviceable major league pitcher, like you said, Doc. He's been pitching well, but he's nothing exciting for us. But I think he could be the type of pitcher who could be long-term successful in Colorado.
he to me fits the mold of what Colorado is doing with their pitching with like Austin Gomber, where it's pitchers that that have a very low ceiling, but are just going to throw a lot of innings right now. Like, doesn't matter if they give up 7 earned, you're going to have them go 5 or 6 regardless. You're saving that bullpen because they did this last year with Jose Urena. Urena would get bombed every time he went out, and it's just like, cool, we're going to have you go out every 4th or 5th day and throw 3 or 4 innings, give up 8 earned, and
It must be weird to work for a company. The Colorado Rockies at the end of the day are a company. To work for a company that is not interested in success.
No.
And you just know that going in, and you just show up to work every day and you try to get out of there.
That's honestly a good way to put it. I mean, besides Nolan Arenado, like who are they paying besides, Chris Bryant? And that Chris Bryant contract has probably scarred them from wanting to pay future people.
And he's even admitted he wish he would have done more research on their farm system before he signed that contract.
Ooh,
so you don't want to hear that from your big signing.
Jeez, not only is he playing, but he's trashing the organization. That's a double whammy, but it speaks to just, when we talked about JJ Bleday, the different organizational beliefs and how they go about. So, definitely something to note. Marty had talked about the prospects, and we're going to talk about some call-ups, and hopefully we get this show rolling back on our Triple Play YouTube channel, our prospects.
Yeah, where's Vinny? Where have those guys been?
Real life has taken over. 2024. We're 4 years removed from the pandemic. Different place and time, but I think it's important that we touch on some of the call-ups. So Christian Scott, pitcher for the Mets, made his debut at Tampa Bay. Wenceel Perez from Marty's Detroit Lions called up this week, but already now day-to-day. Kyle Manzardo just called up with Stephen Kwan potentially heading to the IL. Jordan Beck, Tyler Black, Joey Loperfido, who Art said has a similar batting stance as Kyle Tucker. Out of the guys that I said, and I'll start with you, Marty, and, probably you can give us a little bit more insight on Perez. What are your thoughts on some of the guys?
Yeah, we can start with Wenceel Perez. So Detroit's second base outfield primarily. So far, he has a 262 XBA. He's got a 383 OBP. So the plate skills look good. There's not much power, but he's playing. I don't know if it's going to be every day. The Colt Heath situation, I don't know what the organization's going to do. And he's moving in and out for outfield. I think long-term he'll probably be an outfielder. But so far, so good. I think he's fine if you need someone that's going to it'd be the deepest of leagues where I think he would be relevant.
15-team league, does that qualify as the deepest of leagues?
I would say 15-team, and then beyond from that, I don't see much so far to think differently. Because the playing time's not 100%. If he's playing every single day, and I can guarantee that, then yeah, that'd be good, someone that I think can best, because you can look at the counting stats. But Detroit's offense has been lackluster at best. They're really just riding their outstanding pitching so far. So shouldn't expect too many of the RBIs and the runs yet.
You're more pessimist on this than I thought. And maybe that's just you being a Tigers fan. 302, 3 homers, 8 RBIs, 2 stolen bases. I mean, he was out today because of an illness, but I mean,
we'll see. We'll see. I need a couple weeks or a month or two because then that might be it. It might be because I am a Tigers fan. Maybe that's part of the problem. But I think he's fine. But I need more. I need to see that if this goes on for a couple weeks, then I'll change my tune.
Art, are you going to be more optimistic about Christian Scott debut against the Tampa Bay Rays? 6.2 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned, 1 walk, and 6 Ks.
I'm going to try and not be overly excited about Christian Scott's nice debut start. His swing and strike rate on his 4-seam was excellent. His sweeper produced elite O-swing in the first start. He went 25 hitters deep, 6 2/3 innings pitched. I think the Mets need him to stay in the staff. I don't think they're calling him up for like a spot start. So I think there's a decent chance we could get 100 innings, and like the best projections on him have the most innings projected on him is 99 innings. And he looked to have good command and good control. and decent K stuff. 24% K percentage to 4% walk rate in that first start. His four seam and sweeper looked really good. And I expect him to go for a lot of money tonight.
Oh, come on. A pitcher that had a great first game.
Yeah.
We saw this last year. Any pitcher that got up. I mean, I think besides Ellie De La Cruz, I can't think of a hitter that broke the bank. I feel like a lot of the big fab acquisitions last year were for pitching, right?
They definitely.
Bobby Miller, Mason Miller, Bryce Miller. I know we did the F, Mary, Kill.
It was Taj Bradley was first last year.
Taj Bradley was first.
It's first, and then it was Mason and Bryce. I think Mason was second or third. Bryce Miller was next, and then like Cleveland guys came up. Logan Allen and Bybee, I think, might have been the same week. It was crazy last year how it was just like every week for like 6 weeks there was a new prospect coming up. I think Scott's the first one of this season. I don't know how many we're going to be seeing. But I know Scott has been coming. People have been like hinting about him, so I've been excited to see him. And I thought he looked excellent. I think he has a chance to be good for the rest of the season. Marty, do you have any thoughts?
I love the 18 whiffs. I think he's going to go somewhere around 150 to 250, maybe 300, depending on your fab league. I think there's enough wind behind the sails for that because of those 6 strikeouts. But next time out is versus Atlanta, so we're going to know pretty quickly, just how good he is. Even though Atlanta didn't look good this weekend, they were just swept by the Dodgers, but we know what that team can do when they're locked in. So I'm excited to see the next start. He's going to go for tons in 15 and maybe 12s too. What do you think in 12, Art? But you're more 12s than I am.
Would you pick him up for a lot and then sit him first week, or would you throw him against the Braves?
I think if you are in that predicament, you probably have a Joe Musgrove, or you had a Spencer Strider, or you've had a guy who you lost. So you probably you got to plug him in right away. And because the league, if you pick him up, you're gonna probably just start him right away, unless you don't have to, which would be quite a luxury. But I think he's already picked up in any 10-team leagues. In any of those leagues where you can just add that same day, I think he's probably already scooped.
Right.
If not, go get him.
The fastest finger leags.
I do. That's where I thrive.
Yeah,
that's where my OCD really it helps me out instead of hurts me.
No, he's unless you drafted him, he's not on your team in NFBC leagues, so he's not in the league. So he just came up, just became eligible to be added to a team. I think you're playing him, but I do wonder if Atlanta coming up tempers the bids slightly. Just maybe the fact that you're like, I gotta put him out there against the Braves, who, even though they're kind of a sleeping giant, they still are a giant right now.
What's the most you've seen for a single player go for fab in your league so far? I don't think I've seen a triple digits in my leagues.
Oh, I have for sure. Yeah. Jason Foldy went for almost 300 in one of my leagues. I know that right off the bat. Jared Jones went for a couple hundred. That one's actually really working out. Well, let's pick a league in your head, whatever league you think of. Let's guess how much they're going to go for in that league. I'm going to do Glarf. I'll start off, which is a 15-team NFBC league. I'm going to say 226.
Are we talking for Christian Scott?
Christian Scott, our bid. What we think the bids might be. I'm going to say
162. 162.
Is that your that's TGFBI league?
TGFBI.
Yeah, same style as Glarf then.
Oh man, I don't want to say I want to be in on this. I ain't saying it.
We're just hiking up the price.
Just whisper it. No,
just
write
put it
in
the private chat.
Write it on a piece of paper and hold it up. So unless you're on YouTube, you have no idea.
Just do Morse code.
I was looking up at what the big bids have been in DARF so far. The biggest bid was on Abner Uribe so far. So that's a tough one.
I think part of where the bids will go is in conjunction with the injuries, and we will touch on the injuries next. Are you guys looking at any of the other prospects? Jordan Beck, 167, no counting stats in 6 games for the Rockies. Any interest?
No, 61.1 K percentage so far. So no, Jordan Beck, no, but I know Tyler Black. I know you got some thoughts on him.
Yeah, I like Tyler Black. I think Tyler Black has some pop to his bat. He's got a lot of speed as well, and he has good zone contact rate. The problem is, and I'm not sure if it's just the Cubs pitching staff or if the Cubs found something out that's replicable to other staffs, but his second series, the first series against the Rays, he looked all right. The Cubs just held him to 1 for 12, struck him out a whole bunch of times. Just what happens? What happens when you come to Wrigley Field? No, never mind.
You make a beer snake in left field. That's what happens.
Yeah. But I like his zone contact rate. I think that if the strikeouts could get in order, his major league, he's up at 37%, very small sample. His minor league strikeout rates weren't near that. I like his contact rate, love the speed. I think he's a good pickup. They're hitting him third right now with Yelich still out. So they're giving him a chance to establish himself in the lineup. So I think this could be a season-long guy. I like him. And like I said, he had a 47 steal season in the minor leagues. He could be a true 5-category guy for your team.
Okay.
And at third base, steals at third base is a good thing.
Let me ask you guys about the last person. I'm not going to say Kyle Manzardo because, I think he will go for fab and obviously hasn't played yet. Joey Loperfido, 308, 0 home runs, 2 RBIs. But I think what's important to note, this isn't an injury, but they demoted Jose Abreu, and rightfully so, struggling, had 1 extra base hit on the year, batting below 100, and he just looks done. He looks done. The bat speed isn't there. He was never a guy that was going to kill you with his speed to begin with, and he's played a lot of games. And as much as we talk about, prospects that are rising up and, pitchers in their second year that are making an impact, we're seeing the veterans like Goldschmidt, Abreu. It's not a small change. It's a very drastic change. And even though Abreu had close to 90 RBIs last year, I think actually 90 on the dot, great postseason, and offseason carries over, and he just looks like he's completely done. But any interest for Joey Loperfido?
I do in a deep league. I mean, he's hitting 7th or 8th and only versus righties. So you have to put in, strong side platoon, and that's best case scenario because of how many outfielders that they do have that can kind of mix and match. But he was leading all minor league baseball with 13 home runs. So there's pop in the bat, and if he's playing every day, I think the Astros are going to get right sooner or later. There's too much veteran leadership at the top of that lineup to not kind of trickle down for him. So in a 15-team league, I'm interested.
Art?
I agree. I think that he's got a decent approach at the plate, and he does have power. He showed power in minor leagues. I'd pick him up just to get a slice of that Houston offense if he sticks. I think he's worth an ad. I'm not sure how I'd go for a ton on him just yet, but there's a chance he could stick, especially with the Abreu down. They got him playing outfield, Loperfido. Did he play outfield in the minors? I thought he was a first baseman, but
I think he might have played a game or two.
Let me just
looking at NFBC. I want to see if I can find. I think he's only going to be first base eligible on NFBC. I'm looking it up right now. He's actually outfield eligible. Only outfield eligible on NFBC.
Okay.
I think this is somebody that you spend actually a little bit more for. I don't think that they're going to take away his playing time. 308, obviously no home runs so far. He does have 5 strikeouts. No stolen bases, but Houston's problem hasn't been their hitting, it's been their pitching. And I don't see their pitching getting better. So I think that they're going to need to place their best hitters out there. And I think Loperfido does that. And, their hitting has stayed remarkably healthy. Jordan has missed a game or two. Jose Altuve hasn't missed any time. Bregman has missed a day or two with, small nagging stuff. But that's a pretty old lineup. And I think that they need the youth and pop in there. And I don't think you can go wrong spending on someone that's going to be hitting in a good offense, even if it is a platoon side, even if it is at the bottom of the order. Maybe that's
how much. How much would you give him? How much in a 15-team league?
How much in a 15-team league? $1,000 fab budget, right?
Yeah.
I go $16.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us will get it with 16. I hope you're right, but I could see someone doing close to 100 for him.
All right. I am doing it right now. I'm going to put $16. And I want you guys to tell me who I should drop. Cody Bradford, because I'm already dropping Pavin Smith. Smith, bye-bye. You're cut from the squad. Cody Bradford or I wanted to bring this up as a separate segment, but I'm going to tie it in now. Is James Outman cuttable, droppable?
That's so funny. I literally texted friend of the show and my just buddy Tony, who lives in Los Angeles, huge Dodgers fan. I texted him, "What's going on? Is he droppable?" He was cut in my Glarf league. He's the most rostered person that's a free agent in the Glarf league. He's not playing that often, and when he does, he's not doing well. So I don't know what's going on with him. It looks like Paez took over a spot.
Yeah.
Would you cut him for his season stats? 165, 2 homers, 8 RBIs, 1 stolen base.
I would hesitate to do it in a 15-team league.
All right. You hear that, James Outman? Marty said to give you one last shot.
Over Joey Luperfido? Like, who would rest the seat? I mean, that's an interesting question.
Luperfido, if Luperfido is getting, Paez has really been playing very well and kind of usurped. Because Outman's big thing was that he was a good defensive outfielder. That's what gave him a longer rope last season. And I think if Paez can play a serviceable center field, then there's less need to let Outman work through his struggles at the plate. I recently picked up Outman on the cheap in case he does find his swing again, because he was a streaky hitter last season and had nice long hot streaks where he was very helpful to your fantasy team in between long cold streaks. So I think I expect that's where he is. But for me, Outman is someone who is like, if you have space to hold, he could be a cheap investment. But also, just drop him. He's not playing that well. And I don't think you're going to regret it that much.
I also want to mention somebody from the catcher position in a 2-catcher league that I think is worth cutting. Rene Pinto, demoted from the Tampa Bay Rays.
Oh, yeah.
That's someone you're probably not paying attention to, but in a 2-catcher league, that's sometimes what makes a difference. So, just kind of a heads up on that. But going to the last segment, 43 minutes in right now, we've kind of danced around a lot. Injuries, I wish I had the soundboard effect for, a clunk or like a don't, but we have a lot of them. Surprise. So I'm just going to go down the list and going to talk about some guys that have been placed on the IL, but also some good news to kind of balance it out. Joe Musgrove, which I just found out about, and I hope you get better, Joe. I hope that you make 100% healthy return, but wait a month. Take your time. Right elbow inflammation. This is as of 4 hours ago, so no timetable yet. Mike Trout, like clockwork, unfortunately hurt. A torn meniscus, just had surgery a few days ago. He's expected back this season, but there is no timetable for his return. Masataka Yoshida, possible surgery on his left thumb. He has a strain. He is getting a second opinion. No timetable on his return. Man, the Red Sox have been decimated, it seems like, more than any other team with injuries so far. Trey Turner, and maybe I should have led off with this one, a hamstring strain. Trey Turner is someone that has been basically the epitome of health for the last 5 years. Said 6 to 8 weeks he would be out, and, quote, 6 weeks would be a win for him. So the next month and a half minimum, you're not going to have Trey Turner on your team, which is awful. That's your first round pick. That's somebody that had been giving you great batting average, 10 stolen bases, a little bit of pop. You can't replace that, which is why I think it's even more imperative to be active on the waiver wire.
Yeah, I think Whit Merrifield might get a little bit more value now for these next 6 weeks. He could be a good pickup at middle infield if they could work him into the lineup, depending on who they want to move to shortstop. I don't know if Stott can play shortstop, but I'm hoping Whit Merrifield becomes a nice little pickup now, and that he gets a little bit more run there.
He was somebody that we had talked about a lot, that there was one injury that was going to be needed to somebody in the outfield, to somebody in the infield. And Whit Merrifield's been playing better as of late. A little bit of pop over the last 2 weeks. Nathan Eovaldi, a strained right groin. No timetable for his return. He did look great before his exit. 8 strikeouts in 2 consecutive outings. Grayson Rodriguez, right shoulder inflammation, and just given how important he is to the O's future, probably something they don't rush back. I want to talk a little bit about this one. Evan Phillips, a right hamstring strain, headed to the 15-day IL. This is a 2-part question of A, who do you think is the next guy up? And B, how much are you willing to pay for speculative saves in the Dodgers bullpen?
So I think it's going to be Daniel Hudson. Keep an eye on Trinan, who just came back from the IL. He looked really good today in his first outing of the year. So I think those 2 are going to be the main ones. I think they're going to start off with Hudson just because Trinan's just returning now. If you need saves, hamstring, right, for Phillips, right, Doc?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, so 4 weeks, I would say, would be kind of normal, maybe 6, depending on it.
That's a good amount of time.
Yeah, so maybe $30, I think at the most I would spend. If you need saves, I think 25, 30, I think that would be fair.
Art.
If you believe in one of the guys. So
I think you could believe in, but you could also just pepper throughout a few guys. I think Trinan's a good person to put a little a spicy $8-9, something where you might be able to get the second guy, because we don't know how they're going to go with it. But Hudson does seem to be the next guy up. They have pitched him in a lot of high leverage situations, so it could be bullpen by committee with Hudson getting the most opportunities. But yeah, the guy Gratterall, I think we thought coming into the season would have been the backup. He's not there, so Hudson, Trinan, yeah, those are the ones I'd look at. Whoa, is there any other names that come to your mind for that bullpen?
Hudson was the guy that I was thinking about. I don't think they bring Trinan into that role right away. They had brought him in initially after his successful seasons with Oakland. But I don't think Daniel Hudson is the guy long-term either. And if this is something that's 6 weeks, I'd be interested to see if they make a move at the deadline, if they can get someone for cheap. I can't think of a name off the top of my head, but maybe if they make a move and have another person that is the closer in the mean. I just don't see Daniel Hudson being the main source for saves. And maybe this is a bullpen by committee. Maybe the Dodgers offense just steps it up and blows everybody out where there aren't even save situations. Looking also at Nolan Jones, a low back strain, and he was someone that was interesting going into the season because of the 2020 upside. We hadn't really seen anything proven from him. I think it's been very disappointing. And, if you are looking for the replacement, I think Jordan Beck is the guy just in terms of his handcuff, but not a lot of value with either of those guys. Then just a little bit of notes. Ryan Pepio left today's game with a bruised lower leg. He was struck by a 107-mile-per-hour comebacker. We kind of just shrug it off and talk about it, but that's got to hurt. 107 miles an hour off the leg. Nothing further about any further damage, but as of now, we'll just expect that he makes his next start as of normal. Merrill Kelly was transferred to the 60-day IL with a right lat strain, so somebody that's probably going to be out until the All-Star break. You hope that he comes back this season. Cody Bellinger set to do hitting and fielding drills, coming back from a rib injury. And Christian Javier potentially pitching next weekend at Detroit. Gave up 3 runs in his rehab outing in Double-A. Maybe does one more, but the neck issue seems to be improving. So, guys, before we head into Week 7, before Fab runs tonight in an hour, any notes, anything that you're looking forward to for next week?
Is Austin Meadows a cut in all 15-team leagues?
Yes.
He's batting 100.
Yeah, we could have brought this up last week, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's been pretty brutal there. Yeah, no, I think there's going to be a lot of money spent. So if you don't have it, personally, I'm looking at Hayden Wisniewski. I don't know, how you felt about him, Art. I know you follow the team closely. He's looked pretty good. Yeah,
I mean, when his sliders looking really good, he's a darn good pitcher. And if it's going well, like it was that hot streak at the end of 2022, he could go on a nice little run. I wouldn't mind picking him up either.
So last chance, should I cut James Outman or no? This is what we're going to end the listeners with. Is James Outman rosterable in a 15-team league?
Hold on. Before we answer that, I want to ask, is Mike Trout cuttable in a 15-team league?
No.
Or are you going to wait?
You're going to wait.
Okay. Now back to Outman.
My reason for Trout, the power is legit this year. Yes, the batting average isn't there, but I think if you were banking on him for steals, a torn meniscus would be something where I'm like, okay, he's cuttable. Like,
yeah,
if
he's done with those.
If this was an Astori Ruiz torn meniscus, I say you cut him.
Yeah.
Trout can still have the power with a torn meniscus coming back, I believe. That's just my thought.
Yeah, I agree.
But now back to James Outman, the current guy that's injured but just sucks.
I think he's cuttable for sure.
Woo! I needed that peer pressure. All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see if any of the bids I have for James Outman, with some of that I've talked about on the show, Christian Scott is somebody that I'm going to be trying to have on my team instead of Mr. Outman. I give you too many chances, buddy, and watch me cut him, and then he starts turning things around. But Art, anything you want to leave us for before we sign off?
No, nothing too pressing right now. I think we covered a lot.
Yeah. Well, always a pleasure doing this each and every week. We will be back in an earlier time next week, not on Sunday. But for Doc, for Elsie, for Marty Party, D. Mendy is here in spirit. We're going to make like a bread truck, haul these buns. Catch you guys next week. Good luck with Fab. Good luck with Week 7.